Good morning and welcome. It is so terrific for us all to be together today for the commencement of the class of 2022. I'm Erwin Chemerinsky, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be the Dean of the University of California, Berkeley School of Law. The students graduating today with JD degrees, LLM degrees, JSD degrees, and PhD degrees are a diverse student population from all over the globe. This is an occasion to celebrate their hard work and their accomplishments, which now qualify each of them to join the profession that's responsible for ensuring justice in our society and across the world. Graduating from law school is always a huge accomplishment, but it is especially so for these graduates. The JD class of 2022 spent the last third of its first year and all of its second year in online classes. All of today's graduates dealt this year with the ongoing COVID pandemic and all of the difficulties and restrictions it required. I hope this makes today and your accomplishment in reaching this milestone even more meaningful. You've shown a perseverance and ability to deal with adversity that bodes well for your careers. None of us got here on our own. I think it's only appropriate to begin by recognizing and thanking so many who got us to this point in time. First, each of our graduates was helped enormously before and during law school by parents, by partners and spouses, and by children. You've guided the graduates and been there for them through the hard work and the ups and downs that are inherent to any law school program. You have provided financial support, emotional support, and love. I would therefore like to ask all of the parents, partners and spouses, and children of the graduates to stand. I'd like the class of 2022 and everyone here to join in thanking them. Every aspect of the law school, including this commencement, is implemented by a tremendously talented group of administrators and staff. Most of all, they are committed to our students and providing the best possible educational experience. I'd like to ask my associate and assistant deans and all the librarians, administrators, and staff of Berkeley Law to rise so we can thank them. Ultimately, the quality of any school is a product of two key components: the students and the faculty. Our faculty have taught the class of 2022 in the classrooms, yes, on Zoom, in their offices, in the halls, in their homes. They have imparted great knowledge of the law and hopefully wisdom and inspiration as well. By every measure and standard, it is a superb faculty, and I am so proud to be a part of it. I'd like to ask my colleagues, the law school faculty, to rise and be recognized. This year, we tragically lost 3 members of the Berkeley Law community. I'd like to say a few words about each of them, and then I'll ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Chen Chang, who is known to many as CY, came to Berkeley Law from Taiwan as an LLM student. He's greatly missed by his LLM classmates and his fellow residents in the International House. Today, we award a posthumous LLM degree to CY. Professor Lucinda Sykes was a member of the legal research, writing, oral advocacy faculty for 20 years, following a significant first career as a litigator with U.S. PERG and Public Citizen, where she testified before Congress and argued before the United States Supreme Court. Lucinda was a beloved teacher, mentor, and friend who left a deep and lasting impact on her students and colleagues. Professor Steve Sugarman joined the Berkeley Law faculty in 1972. He taught torts to many generations of Berkeley Law students, including a class of 1Ls this year, and he twice served as our associate dean. Steve was an extremely influential thinker and scholar in the fields of education law and injury law. His ideas and advocacy made a huge difference. Steve embodied Berkeley Law's public mission and community spirit, and he left an indelible imprint on our law school. We miss him enormously. Please join me in a moment of silence in remembrance of Chen Chang, Lucinda Sykes, and Steve Sugarman. Our tradition is for the students to choose an LLM graduate and a JD graduate to speak at their commencement. The first student speaker this morning will speak to us on behalf of the students in our LLM program. These are graduate students, mostly lawyers from countries around the world, who are receiving a master's degree in law from Berkeley Law. This year's LLM speaker is Hoda Deeb. Hoda is originally from Alexandria, Egypt. She obtained a Bachelor of Commerce from McGill University, where she majored in finance, and a Bachelor of Law from Queen Mary, University of London. She's practiced law in both Egypt and the United Arab Emirates. While at Berkeley, Hoda was a member of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Team in the Berkeley Business Law Journal. She will graduate with a certificate of specialization in business law, having focused her studies on venture capital law. After graduation, Hoda will be joining Gunderson Detman as an associate in their New York office. Please join me in welcoming Hoda.
Thank you, Dean Chemerinsky, for the warm introduction. Fellow graduates, faculty, families, and friends. Hola, ciao, ahlan, ni hao, namaste, chesh, hello. These 7 ways of greeting everyone here today comprise only 20% of the languages spoken amongst the LLM class of 2022. More than 250 students coming from countries spanning the corners of the world, from New Zealand, China, India, Oman, Germany, Luxembourg, Ghana, Brazil, and Mexico. This list goes on. Our diversity could probably put a UN General Assembly to test. You're probably expecting me now to say something like, "We made it." But as lawyers, we've been trained to question the counter of such statements. Was there an element of doubt that we wouldn't? Many of us face great adversity to be here, from COVID to funding to the uncertainty of pivoting our careers. But this only propelled us to take on this challenge with enthusiasm and veracity. So no, I did not doubt that we would make it. My name, Hoda, in Arabic, signifies the right path. So what was the right path to get here, and what is the right path leaving here? We all took different roads to get to where we are today. Some of us got engaged and married along the way. Some of us had babies. Some stopped being the baby. Some got burnt, literally. got PhDs and first jobs. And yet, with all these different paths, we find ourselves together in the same place. Leaving here will be no different. Some of us will return to our jobs with a new mindset. Some beginning our careers in big law. Some leaving the field of law entirely to discover something else. And some don't know yet. And that's okay. We may find ourselves taking different paths, along which we are all bound to fail at some point. But we won't let that failure stop us. Fiat lux, let there be light. We will create our light. We will find our path. We will learn by overcoming setbacks. For many of us, our time at Berkeley will likely be the last step in our formal education. But it's definitely not the end of our learning journey. Let us always seek out those who will teach, mentor, and support us. Support of our loved ones is part of the reason why we're here today. Some of our supporters here or watching the live stream back home don't speak English. And yet, they are here, physically and metaphorically, supporting us, proving that language is never the barrier, as we all so well know. If you ask anyone here today how the Berkeley experience has been, I am confident that everyone's answer would be, it was nothing short of remarkable. As cliche as it sounds, today marks a bittersweet moment for us all. You see, what no one tells you about the LLM program is that you end up making lifetime friends you're only certain you'll get to spend a year with. A year, we all agree, flew by. And yet, we will always remain connected. Who would have thought that two of our friends from Cyprus and Singapore would come to Berkeley and discover that their fathers were LLM classmates 40 years ago at Cambridge? This only goes to show that distance and time mean very little. We are not just leaving here with an amalgam of memories and friendships, but also access to free Airbnbs for life around the world. It is with a heavy heart that one of our classmates is not here with us today. And I speak for us all when I say our thoughts remain with his loved ones. Berkeley is the third public university I have attended throughout my educational career. But to say it has been the most special experience of them all would not do the school justice. What people don't know about Berkeley Law is that within this big university, we have that small school feel, that sense of belonging. We walk down the halls greeting one another. We are comfortable enough in classes to discuss topics which at times may spark fierce yet intellectually stimulating debates. This balance of social involvement and academic rigor prepared us to pursue our lives with burgeoning fervor. Berkeley has prepared us. Chance favors those best prepared, and I think our chances are looking pretty good. Congratulations to the class of 2022. Go Bears!
Thank you, Hoda, for those wonderful words. Next, we'll hear from the JD student speaker, Renato Valdez. Reggie came to us from San Juan, Texas. He's a Mexican-American Legal Defense Fund scholar and Hispanic Scholarship Fund scholar. During his time at Berkeley Law, he served as co-president of La Alianza and also served on the boards of the La Raza Law Journal and the Ecology Law Quarterly. In his last year of law school, Reggie helped brief and argued an inmate civil rights case in front of the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Reggie will graduate with a certificate in public interest in social justice. After graduation, Reggie will work as an associate at Cooley, right here in the Bay Area. Please join me in welcoming Reggie.
Congratulations, class of 2022. And welcome to everyone celebrating this moment with us. Proud parents, our professors, student loan officers. I know they're here somewhere. Thank you all for being here. I'm honored to have the opportunity to address our entire class before we all head out in 300 different directions. With everything that has happened in the past 3 years, remote classes, canceled grades, virtual internships, some might say that we are the most unorthodox class of law students ever to graduate. But I think we are possibly the greatest class of law students to graduate. We learned how to practice law under the most distracting conditions possible. We were all sitting at home trying to learn the exceptions to the hearsay rule while our families blasted the TV, our roommates took up our Wi-Fi, and murder hornets whirled past our windows. The universe gave us every excuse possible to quit law school. Unprecedented event after unprecedented event, and we still kept checking our emails, kept writing 8-hour exams, semester after semester. Seriously, the air filled with smoke and viruses, the sky turned completely orange, Russia started World War III, and you were still sending emails signing them all the best. And now, after all of these virtual classes and virtual exams, we have to go and take the bar in person? We don't know how to take in-person exams, who are we kidding? And yet, we all submitted moral character applications and registered for the bar because we know we can figure this out, and because the class of 2022 is the most adaptable and resilient class yet. Then, after we inevitably maintain Berkeley's amazing bar passage rates, we will all set out in a brand new legal world. We'll be meeting half of our clients over Zoom with our bookshelf virtual backgrounds. We'll be heading to the office twice a week and writing our memos and motions on the couches the other 3 days of the week. And we trained for this. Now we know how to be stay-at-home lawyers. We already learned how to deliver virtual oral arguments from our WOA professors. We already know how many indoor plants we need to buy for our home offices. We are masters of screen sharing, when to meets, calendar invites, and more. Now, having outlined our strengths, I also want to offer some advice, which I hope to take myself. After all that we've been through, it's tough to avoid becoming cynical. But we have to remember why we came to law school. Remember Berkeley Law learning outcome number 6? You probably don't. But I looked it up. Using the law to solve real-world problems and create a more just society. Remember the personal statements we wrote? I wrote mine about my undocumented parents who worked in the fields for less than minimum wage, and my dad who was deported and thus cannot be here today to celebrate. And whatever path my future, thank you. And whatever path my future career takes, I want to contribute to our community by mentoring, donating, being a supervising attorney for students, and by keeping an eye out for emails from Deborah Schlossberg. My advice to all of you would be how to figure out how you can honor the Zeruel who got you here today. And lastly, to our loved ones here today, I'd like to share some guidance on how to deal with the new lawyer in your life. We need it. First of all, most of us are vitamin D deficient from spending our time in the library. So please send us some multivitamins because we'll be too busy to go to the store for the next year and a half. Second, most of us spend all day staring at our computer screens and textbooks, so if you're thinking about a good graduation gift, we could really use some blue light glasses or some lubricating eye drops. Lastly, and this is not legal advice, attorney-client privilege only applies to current and prospective clients. Please keep that in mind before you send us your hypothetical scenarios. I leave you all with the beautiful words of Leslie Knope, who was quoting Ted Roosevelt. Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is a chance to work hard at work worth doing. And, as Leslie Knope added, what makes work worth doing is getting to do it with people that you love. Thank you to my family, amazing girlfriend, and friends, especially Alianza, for their continued support. Everyone, I believe in you and keep fighting. Woo!
Thank you, Reggie, for those wonderful words. Each year, a faculty speaker is chosen by a vote of the students of the graduating class. This year's graduates overwhelmingly chose Professor Tiara Bridges, a superb teacher and scholar. Professor Bridges graduated as valedictorian from Spelman College. She served her JD from Columbia Law School and her PhD with distinction from Columbia University's Department of Anthropology. Professor Bridges teaches criminal law and family law at Berkeley Law, among other classes. She is an outstanding and beloved classroom teacher. She has written 3 books and many articles concerning race, class, and reproductive rights. Her scholarship has appeared in the most prestigious law reviews. This year, she was chosen by the editors of the Harvard Law Review to write the prestigious foreword to this year's volume, which I've heard being described as like being elected to a Hall of Fame of law professors. Please join me in welcoming Professor Tiara Bridges.
So all crimes have 2 elements, actus reus and mens rea. In the next section of the course, we will be, sorry, wrong note, sorry. Okay, what a wild ride the past 3 years have been. You all started law school in the before times. You did a full semester of in-person classes, and 37 of you learned criminal law from a hilarious, sharply dressed, super young professor. Then you started the second semester of your first year of law school, and you were just getting into the swing of things when the world turned upside down. That is a direct reference to Hamilton. As many of you likely know, every respectable commencement speech mentions Hamilton at least once. So the world turned upside down in the second semester of your first year, and you were forced to enroll in the Zoom School of Law. Your 2L year arrived, and it was just one Zoom room after another. And then 3L happened, and you were finally able to have a full year of in-person classes, with the exception of that weird month of January. Resilient. The fact that you are sitting here today in all of your cap and gowned glory means that you are resilient, and I applaud your resilience. But if you bear with me, I want to make a case against resilience. What do we even mean by resilience? Sometimes when we say that someone is resilient, we mean that they are tough. We mean that they are able to withstand adversity, trauma, and tragedy. And if that is what resilience means, then you certainly are that. You have weathered so much adversity and trauma over the past 3 years. Indeed, many of you are here despite tragedies in your life. So when I say that I want to make a case against resilience, I don't mean to deny that you are resilient as in tough. But I just don't think we should have to be tough all the time. I think we should actively work to create a world where our survival does not depend on whether or not we can be strong for long periods of time. We should be able to be soft and tender and vulnerable. Not 100% of the time, of course, but like often. We should have to be tough only in exigent circumstances, not every second of every day of our lives. Needing to be tough should be the exception rather than the rule. And so, as you embark on your legal careers, I want you to know that it's okay to not fail and to not be tough all the time. And I want to encourage you to use your legal expertise to fashion a world that allows people to be delicate and sensitive and gentle. Now, at other times, when we say that someone is resilient, we mean that person has bounced back. They went through something difficult, and then they were able to almost immediately assume the form that they had before the difficult event. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. I really do not think we should try to be resilient in that sense of the word. I want to make a case against resilience. Like all of you, I retreated into my home when the stay-at-home orders were issued in March 2020. I remember going days without leaving my house. I remember going to the grocery store to get food, and half of the shelves were empty. The toilet paper aisle was definitely empty. I remember going by the shuttered doors of the restaurants where I used to eat lunch and dinner, and I remember longing for a meal that I didn't have to cook myself. I remember Zooming with my mom, dad, brother, and sister in South Florida and wishing that I could just hug them and be in the same room with them. And I remember distinctly longing for the way things used to be. I remember wanting to go back to the way things were. You know, the days when I would wake up and hop on the BART and go take ballet class and a hot yoga class, you know, maybe both. Then grab a salad from Sweet Green and a venti iced tea lemonade from Starbucks. And then change into an amazing outfit with carefully selected accessories and killer heels. And then head over to teach at Berkeley Law and teach those classes that I so love to teach. I remember desperately wanting to get back to the way things were, y'all. I was hoping for resilience. But I really don't think we as a society should try to achieve resilience. I don't think that we should try to go back to the way things were. The way things were was so unfair to so many people. The pandemic presents us with this terrifying and magnificent opportunity to do things differently. For example, we could be resilient when it comes to the way that we provide health insurance in this country, and we can keep our two-tiered healthcare system. This is a system that provides fantastic healthcare to those with private insurance and terrible care to those who are publicly insured or uninsured. Or we could try not to be resilient and decide to erect an equitable system. We can be resilient when it comes to the way that we have treated the environment, and we can keep extracting and exploiting and polluting and encroaching, or we could not be resilient and recognize that our survival is wrapped up with the health of the planet. And we can be resilient when it comes to the stories that we tell about poverty. We can continue telling the same stories that we have always told, stories about how poor people are poor because they are lazy or don't like to work or promiscuous or criminally inclined or like handouts, or we can allow the pandemic to inspire us to tell different stories. These different stories would explain poverty in terms of jobs that used to be there, and then for reasons that have nothing to do with the effort of the worker, just go away. Poverty could be explained in terms of interrupted supply chains that increase the cost of goods, including basic necessities like food. Poverty could be explained in terms of illness, be it physical or mental, and the inability to access the health care that can help manage the illness. Poverty could be explained in terms of large-scale macro forces that are well beyond the control of any sole person. I think we should try not to be resilient. I think that we should try to do things differently. And in the spirit, of doing things differently, I'm not going to end my remarks by telling the same joke that I always tell to the class of 2022. You know the joke, the one where I say that I have a special place in my heart for the class of 2022 because you guys started at Berkeley Law when I started at Berkeley Law. You know, it's the joke where I say that we all entered Berkeley Law in fall 2019 at the same time. We were all in our early 20s. We were so young. We did our first year together, our second year together, and now we are finishing our third year. We're all in our mid-20s, wrapping things up. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that joke. I'm not gonna be resilient when it comes to that joke. The poet Rumi once said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." COVID-19 has wounded us. What a gift. Let us let in as much light as we possibly can. Do justice, class of 2022.
Tiara, that was terrific. Thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's special guest and commencement speaker, Monica Ramirez Ahmadani. She was chosen in consultation with the presidents of the graduating classes. Monica Ramirez Ahmadani is the president and CEO of Public Counsel. Public Counsel is the nation's largest public interest law firm, specializing in civil rights litigation, community building, advocacy, and policy change. Every year, their direct legal service helps thousands of people who are experiencing poverty. Ms. Ramirez Ahmadani has been a civil rights lawyer and a leader for nearly 2 decades. After graduating from Harvard University and Stanford Law School, she clerked for the late Honorable Warren J. Ferguson on the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. She went on to serve as an Equal Justice Works Fellow and then a staff attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union. She advocated for the rights of underserved immigrant communities. Ms. Ramirez Ahmadani has served in several leadership positions in federal and state government, including the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division and in the California Department of Justice, where she advised then Attorney General and now Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, on criminal justice and civil rights issues. Before joining Public Counsel, Ms. Ramirez Ahmadani was a visiting clinical law professor and co-director of the Immigrant Rights Clinic at the University of California Irvine School of Law. As special counsel at Covington and Burling, she served as part of the senior litigation team representing the University of California and successfully challenged the Trump administration's decision to rescind the Deferred Action for Child Arrival program. Ms. Ramirez Ahmadani is the daughter of Mexican immigrants and grew up in Huntington Park, a working-class immigrant community in Southeast Los Angeles. She's married to a Berkeley Law graduate and has a new baby that was born last month. She has 3 sons. I cannot imagine a better role model for our graduates and for all of us, or a better commencement speaker today. So please join me in welcoming the commencement speaker for the commencement of 2022, Monica Ramirez Ahmadani.
Wow, this is a big crowd. Let me just really take it in. This is incredible. It's also very hot up here. So for those of you who are COVID safe and have your masks, they also work very well as a fan. So I'll be using mine as that. Good morning, Berkeley. Good morning. What an honor to be here today. Thank you, Dean Chemerinsky, for that extremely kind introduction. I am a longtime member of the Chemerinsky fan club since my days at the ACLU. And so it's quite an honor and very surreal to be introduced by you. So thank you so much. And thank you, of course, to the Berkeley Law class of 2022 for the opportunity to celebrate this very special day with all of you. Congratulations on graduating from one of the most esteemed academic institutions in the country. What an incredible achievement. Congratulations. To the faculty and staff, kudos to you for the unwavering support that I'm confident you've shown all these amazing students over the past 3 years, obviously during a very difficult time in our nation's history. And to the parents and those who helped raise and guide you, congratulations to you as well. My husband and I drove from Los Angeles with our 3-year-old son, Rumi, who's actually here, just down there. Hi, Rumi. And with our 4-week-old newborn, yes, 4-week-old newborn, to be here today. We are so proud to have survived the long drive up the 5 freeway, as you can imagine, and to have slept a total of 3 hours last night, that I could only imagine the sense of pride that you parents must feel at seeing your children reach this incredible milestone. In all seriousness, parents, grandparents, step-parents, loved ones, can you please stand again for all of us to recognize your sacrifice for your children? Please stand. Let's give it up for the parents, the faculty, the staff, your supporters who are cheering you on today. It really does take a village, trust me. I am very, very fortunate to stand here this morning. The last time I wore this gown was at my law school graduation about 18 years ago. I never would have imagined wearing it again from this beautiful stage at the Greek Theater. Wow. I don't know exactly what you're thinking in this moment, but I remember thinking at my graduation, how did I get here? Is this real? Will I pass the bar exam in a few months? Am I going to make it as an attorney? See, about 10 years before my graduation, I had sat in an overcrowded auditorium at my public high school in Southeast LA. It was an orientation assembly of some kind, and the principal told us, a room full of starry-eyed freshmen, to look to our left, this is my left, to look to our right, because one of us, meaning half of the hundreds of students in that room, would not graduate from high school in 4 years. Now imagine if Dean Chemerinsky had said something similar to you 3 years ago when you started your journey. How would that have made you feel? The statement, as harsh and demoralizing as it was on its face, did not faze me or anyone in that room. We were accustomed by that young age, sadly, to know that our prospects were bleak, that graduating from high school, much less going to college, was not for everyone, and especially not for kids like us from an inner city, working class, and immigrant background. Now, fast forward 4 years later, I left my family and home for college, and I prayed that once again I would defy the odds and make it through the next 4 years. I boarded a red-eye flight from Los Angeles to Boston overnight. My parents were afraid to let me go, understandably, but also incredibly supportive, to their credit, that I had been accepted to Harvard. My mom and dad had not gone to college. My dad had completed only 6th grade in Mexico before he was forced to work as a farmer with his father and eventually immigrated to the United States as a teenager. For that life-changing trip, again by myself, I had 2 suitcases that my mom helped me carefully pack. I think I have 5 suitcases just for this weekend with my kids here. But I had 2 suitcases and, just enough clothes for the fall, no heavy winter coat. I don't think we realized how cold Boston was. A few family pictures and other keepsakes from friends. A heavy plastic bag of powder washing detergent to wash my clothes. Now, this was not a box of detergent. My mother took a garbage bag and put powder washing detergent in that bag, tied it up, and went into one of my suitcases. Clearly, she didn't think I was capable of buying detergent. I think a lot of moms can relate. And of course, a bottle of my favorite Mexican hot sauce, Tapatio, to be precise for those in the know. Tapatio is very popular, especially in California. There's a picture of a man with a big sombrero. That man and I have traveled together for many, many years with me in every part of my professional experience. No laptop or other computer, no cell phone in those days, if you can believe it. Nothing else except for my dreams. And that's when my life changed. That's when I was transported to a different world. Now imagine this. I arrive in Boston, again, by myself, had never visited Harvard. It's cold, the streets feel very empty, it's early in the morning. I'm hungry. I buy my very first croissant ever. I love croissants, with the little cash that I had at the time. And I spend the rest of the early morning in front of Harvard Yard just waiting for the orientation tables to be set up so that I can pick up my keys and I can meet my roommates. Jet-lagged and overwhelmed, it was one of the longest days of my life. While it started with enthusiasm and anticipation, it ended with fear and self-doubt. See, as I saw other students arrive with their parents in fancy SUVs and nice cars, I noticed how comfortable they were. Literally, they had extra pillows, blankets, lamps for their rooms. I had never heard of or seen a futon until that day. Same for the sport of lacrosse. I had no idea what that was. They were smiling with their parents and greeting other students they already knew. They seemed to fit right in. It was confusing and intimidating for me. My parents could not afford to travel with me. Honestly, I had no clue that they were even expected to. But as much as it hurt to be alone, I knew it was better that way. See, I didn't want my mom and dad to see my insecurity. They were so proud of me, and I didn't want to disappoint them. And I didn't want others to see their insecurity either. How would my roommates react to my parents' broken English? Where would my parents have stayed? I had to face the immediate challenge before me on my own, believing that I had to hide my true self to be seen and to be accepted by those around me. So I tried very hard to hide. I hid my Spanglish accent, my way of life, not realizing at the time that hiding is no way to be seen, no way to be heard, and no way to make an impact. Many years later, as I began my career as an immigrants' rights and civil rights lawyer at the ACLU, I felt shame about those moments and those experiences. As I represented individuals who reminded me of my parents, of my family, of my community, I fought so hard to tell their stories, to uplift their voices, and to advocate for their well-being, yet I was still struggling to fit in, to speak confidently, to be comfortable, to be me. Despite my degrees from Harvard and Stanford, I worried constantly that I wasn't smart enough, creative enough, or polished enough to truly succeed in the legal profession. I kept looking to my left, to my right, waiting to not make it, fearing I would be one of those ill-fated kids whose luck would soon run out. That's how I felt in my law school graduation, too. Imposter syndrome. That's a term we've all heard, and many of us have used to describe our educational and professional experiences. That feeling of not belonging and pretending to be someone else. Again, despite all the external evidence of your competence, those experiencing imposter syndrome, sadly often women and people of color, but others too, do not believe they deserve their success or their luck, and they fear being exposed as a fraud. Fake it until you make it. That always sounded so appealing to me. Fake it until you make it. Okay, fake it until you make it. What does that even mean? I am here today to urge you to dispose of that phenomenon immediately, right now. Don't waste any time wondering if you're even experiencing imposter syndrome. Don't talk about it. Don't give it any power. See, if I could go back in time, that's exactly what I would do, and here's why. As technical as it may seem when you're studying for the bar exam, the law is not about formulas or memorizing legal rules and established precedents, although you should do that, of course, for the bar exam. At its most fundamental level, to be a lawyer is to understand and deal with the complexity of our society. And to do that, to genuinely succeed in that, you must draw from your own lived experience and your own sense of justice, from your own roots and your own values. It is not about pretending or faking it. It's about truly trusting in yourself to be that courageous advocate that you have been training to be at this world-class university. In my nearly 20 years of practice, I have had the fortune to serve those most in need, those facing challenges far, far greater than my own. Families separated and harmed because of our broken immigration system, victims of human trafficking and child exploitation stripped of their dignity and innocence, low-wage workers taken advantage of by unscrupulous employers, young people living in agonizing legal limbo, even though they were raised here, simply because they were not born here. I've also had the privilege to work in public service at the highest levels of the Justice Department in Washington, D.C., and in our state, advising leaders whose policy and legal decisions affect countless people, including the most vulnerable among us. And I've explored other passions and practice areas by teaching law and working in the private sector. All of those experiences led me to my current role, of which I am incredibly proud. As the president and Helen and Morgan Chu CEO Distinguished Chair, it's a very long title, of Public Counsel. As Dean Chemerinsky said, Public Counsel is the nation's largest public interest law firm, specializing in providing free legal services to lower income communities and communities of color. There is no question that I could not have had the rich and diverse professional and leadership experiences that I've had without believing in myself and doing the hard work that was required. Yet, that nagging self-doubt lingered for many years until I fully realized and appreciated how fortunate I am to be in a profession that demands more of me, more of all of us, than proving ourselves to others. It's a profession that demands something more noble, that we pursue justice. This became even more clear to me in those dark and uncertain early days of the pandemic. In 2019, I had decided to leave my law firm to pursue clinical teaching at UC Irvine Law School. I was excited to be on a university campus full-time, to work with students like you, to have the time and space to think, write, and teach about immigration and civil rights, the areas to which I had devoted most of my career. Little did I know that within months, I would be teaching remotely with a toddler in tow, fearing that we would get sick. My students' stress, as you can all relate, and their fatigue were palpable. We couldn't see our clients. We couldn't share ideas in person. The screen time was and is simply exhausting Honestly, I was so worried that today's commencement would be via Zoom. Thank you for having me here in person. However, I knew how lucky I was during that time, and now you are, to have the education, training, and tools to make a difference in society during a time of significant crises. I started law school a few weeks before 9/11 happened. It was a disruptive moment in history that forced us as students to think more critically about our futures. As we all know by now, COVID has exposed and exacerbated historic and entrenched racial, economic, gender, and other inequities in our society in such a profound way that we have an obligation to act. We all do. And I know many of you have already made a difference as students here at Berkeley. What's more, our democracy is in flux in a way that we have not experienced in a very long time. We see alarming signs of democratic backsliding and political polarization that should concern all of us. Democracies are built on strong and independent institutions, and our system of justice is among the most important for a democracy to flourish. So here's the good news. As lawyers, especially with your exceptional education and experience, which sets you apart, we have the power to right wrongs, to pursue equity and fairness, especially during times of turmoil and crisis. The challenges of the day, and there are many, are your opportunities to make your mark that will live on in service of future generations, that will serve your children and their children. The wise words of Ralph Waldo Emerson speak to me in a way that I hope speak to you. The purpose of life is not to be happy. Not to be happy, Emerson said. Now listen to this. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. To have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Shed and shred those insecurities. The legal career you're about to embark on, like the rest of your life, is your journey, no one else's. Make it count. Have the courage to be true and fair to yourself. Embrace who you are and what you bring to our profession. Challenge yourself to make brave decisions that make sense for you. To work hard, to follow your passion and dreams, even if it means taking great risks and feeling alone at times. In that journey, in that process, please, please resist the temptation to compare yourself to others. Contrary to my high school principal's early lessons on life, no one needs to fail, because as I've learned through my journey in this profession, we all succeed much better together. And have the courage to seek truth and fairness to others, to advance the cause of equality, to use your advocacy skills to ensure justice for those most on the margins. Don't ever forget that our profession is one of bounty. It's noble and full of different and higher paths that allow you to grow and uplift others. Don't be afraid to try new things and seek support from those around you, those with more experience. Learn from those who disagree with you, too. They're not your enemy. They can help you expand your horizons. None of us alone can change the world around us, but by recognizing and appreciating the unique moment we're living in, every one of us can make some difference, as you already have. I mentioned my dad before, how he wasn't able to go to school beyond the 6th grade and immigrated from Mexico as a teenager. For all of his working life in the United States, my dad worked nights at a produce trucking company in downtown Los Angeles, not too far from where we lived. On the day that he retired, he asked me to visit for the very first time the warehouse where he had worked for more than 40 years. I remember feeling sad and embarrassed that I had never seen where he had toiled at night for all those years while my sisters and I slept comfortably at home. That day, he wanted to show his boss by bringing me in to the warehouse what he had achieved by working there. That sense of pride in my education, that discipline that he taught me, that resilience that he represented and still represents, is what inspires me every day to lead my incredible organization and to fight for those in need. Those often in the shadows who, like my father, have had to struggle to make ends meet and support a family in the face of tremendous odds. As I said, I am very fortunate to stand here this morning. Fortunate to stand here as my father's daughter, as my mother's daughter. Graduates, please stand with me, please. We are all so fortunate to celebrate your success today. Your potential, trust me, is limitless. Your voice is beautiful and powerful. Please don't ever forget that. Go out there and make some difference. I wish you all the very best. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. And thank you once again for the honor to share in your day. Go Berkeley. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, for those inspirational and terrific words. I'd like to draw your attention to the awards section of your program on page 21. Here we have listed a number of awards that have already been presented to our graduates. This morning, I want to present 4 awards to JD students for outstanding work while at Berkeley Law. These awards are not in your program and a surprise to everyone receiving them. First, we have 2 awards endowed to the generosity of the San Francisco law firm formerly called Thalen, Marin, Johnson & Bridges, as well as other donors, in memory of the 3 founding members of that firm. The Thalen Marin Prize for Academics is awarded to the graduating student with the strongest academic record. This year, the award goes to Lydia Austin. Lydia, will you please stand? Lydia graduated from the University of Michigan with a BA in Public Policy and a concentration in Tax Policy and International Economics. Prior to coming to Berkeley Law, Lydia worked for 6 years as a tax policy researcher. While at Berkeley Law, she was a member of the Business Law Journal, as well as Women at Berkeley Law, and served as a research assistant for Professor Sean Faring. Next year, Lydia will be at Skadden Arps in Palo Alto. Congratulations, Lydia. The Thalen Marin Prize for Writing goes to the graduating student who's written the best article for one of the legal journals published at Berkeley Law. This year's prize goes to Yeji Kim. Yeji, will you please rise? This year, the selection committee was composed of Professor Eric Bieber, Professor Jonathan Gould, Professor Rebecca Wexler. From a field of many excellent articles nominated for this prize, the committee chose Yeji's article, Virtual Reality Data and Its Privacy Regulatory Challenges, a call to move beyond text-based conformed consent. The committee said of this article, the piece exemplifies relevant, creative, scholarly excellence. In addition to exceptional polish in writing and form, the author's proposal to change the medium in which privacy consent via interactive multimedia tools obtained is fascinating, useful, and novel. Yeji's article was published in the California Law Review. After graduating from Berkeley Law, Yeji will be at Wilson Sonsini in San Francisco. Congratulations, Yeji. Each year, the Dean of Students' Office selects the graduating student who will receive the Student Service Award. They choose the student who best embodies service to the law school community. As usual, this graduating class is full of engaged, compassionate, and committed students. The student who was chosen for this award worked tirelessly on behalf of her classmates and her school. This year's Student Service Award goes to Tiara Brown. Tiara, will you please rise? Tiara has been a remarkable member of the Berkeley Law community. She was active in student government for all 3 of her years here, serving as co-president of the student body in her second year and co-president of the third-year class this year. Tiara was always ready to step up and contribute her time and her energy for the needs of her classmates in the school, to engage in outreach to prospective students, to advocate on behalf of her peers, and to help coordinate so many efforts for our community. I have no doubt that Tiara will continue to do great things in the future. This fall, she's headed to Hogan Lovells in Washington, D.C. Congratulations and thank you, Tiara. The final student prize is the Stephen Finney Jamison Award for the student who has the best combined and demonstrated attributes without a scholarship in advocacy. This award was established by the family and friends of Stephen Finney Jamison, a 1968 graduate of Berkeley Law. The winner this year is Robert Fairbanks. Robert, would you please stand? Robert was a standout in his appellate advocacy course, and he was the winner of this year's McBain Honors Moot Court competition. He found success on the trial team in the 6 trial competitions he litigated, advancing to become a regional finalist and winning an Outstanding Advocate Award. Robert invested his time in helping others as well. He served as a student leader within Berkeley Law's advocacy competitions program. He was co-chair of the Board of Advocates and a returning coach for the 1Ls in the Bales trial competition. Following graduation, Robert headed to Gibson Dunn in Irvine. Congratulations, Robert. Before we officially confer your degrees, I want to note that immediately after this ceremony, we warmly welcome all of you to join us back at the law school for a reception to celebrate our graduates.
Will the JD class of 2022 please rise? Dean Chemerinsky, I present the candidates for the degree Juris Doctor.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President of the University of California and the Chancellor of the Berkeley campus, I confer upon you the degree Juris Doctor, and with it all the rights and privileges thereto pertaining. Congratulations. Thank you all for coming today.